Hey everyone, welcome back to our weekly Let's Try series where I do a little preview video of another game every week. Found this one while I was browsing fvn.li, Kikyō Homecoming. This one's a bit different in that it's not on itch.io and instead it's on like Pixiv or whatever it's called, and it's actually, well, the trial is free, the full game is about $10. But in Japanese currency, the yen. It's like 1,500 yen, I think? Yeah. As the train departed the station, the colors of the city slowly blended together. Oh, spacebar hides the screen. Oh, spacebar is often a proceed button. I like pressing it because it's huge. Gotta click. The passing platforms whisked by, the window a tapestry. The vibrancy of the city slowly gave away, painted over by the soft browns of barren trees, the pristine white of powdery snow, and verdant streaks of lush foliage. Somewhere amidst the piling snow, never seen in the city, I found myself in lifted spirits. Though the unchanging scenery stretched on, I gazed out at this fresh alpine landscape. As I did, I sometimes caught glimpses of a distant town, the russet sheen of clay rooftops drawing my eye across the expanse of porcelain snow. I peered out at these familiar sights and colors, and it gradually hit me. I'm really going home. Taking the bullet train from Tokyo and then changing to the express train from there, it was a 6-hour trip to my destination. Matsue City, Shimane Prefecture, my home. My hometown. Although Matsue is the prefectural capital, it's widely considered to be one of the most rural places in the country. Oop, a right click is also hide interface and I pressed it by accident. The entire prefecture is, for that matter. Being so far out in the sticks, Matsue is very cautious about epidemics. Because of that, I wasn't able to visit when the pandemic was in full force. In the 3 years that Matsue was recovering, I became a fully fledged adult. After all this time, I was finally able to take a trip back home. I wonder how much the city changed since I was 18. Well, considering Shimane is so backwater that the opening of a chain store you can find almost anywhere in Japan was a big enough event to make the news, I'm sure nothing's changed whatsoever. A short, gentle tone roused me from my musings. An announcement filled the silence of the small train car. After a short time, the express train stopped at a lone station in the mountains, looking like it hadn't welcomed anyone onto its platform in a long time. The snow was piled high enough to bury my legs as if I were to step in it. Completely misread that. The stone was piled high enough to bury my legs if I were to step into it. Yet there wasn't a single footprint to be seen. I cast my eyes around the area, revealing nothing but a few private properties scattered here and there. Beyond that, only the snow-laden mountains stood tall, stretching far into the distance. In other words, this was simply another deserted station, same as any other out this way. Turning my gaze from the window, I looked down at the cell phone laying on the fold-out table attached to the seat ahead. A message notification was blinking back up at me. I opened up the app and was surprised to see several messages from my mom. She doesn't tend to message very often, so I went to open the chat and respond to her. My hand stopped short when something at the bottom of the screen caught my eye. There, slightly cut off by the bottom of the display, was a canine with a pure white coat of fur, completely opposite my jet black. The name Haruka Esumi sat beside it. About a year ago, we both stopped reaching out to each other. It felt like that was a long time ago, but it was for the best. Half my reasoning for going to Tokyo was because of my aspirations for moving to the city, but the other half was to put some physical distance between him and I. We were in the same class at elementary school, and being both canine males, we immediately hit it off. Is that an implicit trait of that? From the moment on, all the way through high school, we did everything together. Wherever one of us went, the other would follow. This caused me to develop an unhealthy dependence on him. I guess I'm just not used to hit it off in quite that context, so it's just them in elementary school making friends, of course, like, oh, they have stuff in common, so it's easier to get along. But I hear hit it off, and I'm like, what, they immediately crushed on each other just for both being male? And oh my god, my brain was like, what are we talking about? This caused me to develop an unhealthy dependence on him. I wanted to be by his side, but being near him also caused me pain. Years passed, and whenever I look back on those times, it made me realize I was in love with him. It would be a lie to say that looking at this boy, who was now just a memory, didn't hurt. But that's all in the past now. Surely, he was really busy living a fun life at college. He'd probably forgotten all about me by now. The fact that he hadn't reached out was proof of that. You're gonna immediately run into him. I can see I know what a story telegraphs. Sighing, I opened the chat window and sent a simple response to Mom. I closed the app and set the phone back down on the table. So am I crazy? Yeah, so he saw this other guy in his messaging app, but they haven't talked to each other for a year. So either that's like a bit of a whoopsie oversight in the writing, or this guy does not have friends or people he talks to much at all. If he can't get this guy off of his first page of people to message him, which is sorted by chronology. And it's been a year since they've talked. Like, whoa. That's like, isn't that like, that's usually like 6 people. You don't have 6 people to talk to? Damn. Maybe I was tired from the long ride, but my eyes began to feel heavy. Before I knew it, my consciousness drifted, lulled by the gentle rocking of the train. It's always one of those cases where I'm not totally sure if it's the translation or the original language, but it's pretty dry and verbose for how it's doing the monologue, for how it's like it's framing the narration and so on. Very straightforward, but not brief at all word choice. With the familiar hiss of air, the train crawled to a stop at the station platform. Suppose you should get a move on. Yep. You better work hard. You too, and don't be skipping your college classes. I know. Standing a short ways from the line of passengers waiting to board the train, we chatted casually to one another. I couldn't tell who was talking, though. I bantered as usual, but I found myself unable to retort with my usual gusto. Conversation kept fizzling into a depressing silence. Every time I thought of something to say, it just didn't feel like the right time or place. It seemed the same for him, too. Every time our eyes met, there was an awkward smile on his face. Ah, so this is a flashback. That's why the screen looks like this. I got confused because we're still on a train, which is the same setting that they're in. So I guess this was our protagonist leaving in the first place. Now they're thinking about what happened when they left. So it sounds like they were seen off by the same person that they think doesn't care about them anymore, which seems misplaced. An electronic chime rang out as the train doors slowly sidled by. I shuffled over to join the line, preparing to board before the train's imminent departure. A moment passed and he spoke up. Hey, don't be a stranger now. Come back and hang from time to time. I'll be back for New Year's. Gotcha. I'm looking forward to it, you hear? Yeah, goodbye now. Saying that, I stepped into the train car. From the corner of my eye, I caught one last glimpse of his face. I could swear I saw tears in his eyes. This does not strongly indicate somebody that didn't want to hear from you anymore, but I don't know if they had more interactions and things got worse since then. Maybe. I had the exact same expression as the train pulled away. Long after he had faded into the distance, I just stood there in front of the train door, my hand on the window. It's just like the ending of Luca. It's exactly like the ending of Luca. My eyes opened to the shrill buzzing of my cell phone on the table. I set the alarm to wake me 5 minutes before my stop. Thankfully, the passenger next to me had already gotten off, so I didn't have to be embarrassed about the noise. I had been dreaming. It was so vivid, almost like I was reliving the last day in my hometown all over again. I thought all about that stuff with him was in the past, but if just thinking of him was enough to make him appear in my dreams, then maybe there's still regrets I have buried deep in my heart. Yeah, no, you clearly think about this guy a lot and have unresolved stuff, because 50% of the narration has been about him so far. Pretending to have resolved these feelings, I let out a big sigh at this unsightly part of myself still foolishly pining for him. Is it foolish to pine for somebody who literally was crying as you left? The outside world was dark now, wrapped in the deep blue of falling night, the light of the train car changing the glassy surface of the window to that of a mirror. Bringing my face closer to the glass to see outside, I was greeted by the sight of a modest array of street lamps outlining the familiar road ahead. The snow in the middle of the mountains was so piled up that I was sure it'd be up to my legs here too. But it seemed like it hadn't snowed this far out yet. In just a minute, I'd be stepping foot back in the town where I was born and raised. Despite the bad dream leaving me with a heavy heart, I felt it leap in excitement at that realization. Unable to sit still from the anticipation, I gathered my luggage and headed to the deck before the arrival bell even rang. The train slowed to a stop, several others around me all wearing expressions of joy. The melody I had heard countless times today sounded once again, and a line quickly formed behind me. There's something just seems so chill about being able to just hop on a train and get to a different destination in your country, and just sort of just hang out without the amount of like headache and security and price and anticipation involved in planes. But here in the United States, we just kind of don't get this option the majority of the time. There's like city subways within the city itself, but we don't really have like good rail transit for getting around throughout the country, both because they refuse to build the lines in any kind of useful way, but also because I believe we have a thing where we gave all freight priority. So if you do end up taking a train to try to get to a different state, your train constantly has to just sit around and wait for any freight cars to pass by, because we're not supposed to delay the passage of freight in any way with passenger trains, which does mean that if you try to, like, for example, when I was looking into I was like, I should be able to take a train from Sacramento to Seattle. We're on the same coast. It's like a straight line. Like, that's, if any place should have a train line, it should be that one, right? And we do. But it takes like 30 hours somehow, despite only being a couple states up. It basically takes longer than driving there, which is not how a train is supposed to work for passengers, and it also just wasn't that cheap. I'm like, damn, we did this wrong. There's like a whole avenue of useful transport that Americans just don't have access to, and then a lot of Americans cope by just convincing themselves that the entire system would be bad anyway, and that it's not even good in other countries. It's actually and it's completely impossible in America, and also dangerous somehow, and you know, it's wild. The levels of cope people do to deny the idea that we might actually suck in some way. Very good art style, by the way. I love how the main character's drawn. I'm waiting for anyone else to show up because I just want to see more drawn art. A few moments passed and the door slid open, a breath of open air rushing into the cabin. Huh, a breath of open air is weird phrasing. It was crisp and fresh, a very different quality than that of Tokyo. I wasn't fond of the cold, but just being able to breathe in the air of my hometown made me happier than anything else. No, yeah, snowy, like, winter air, like, hits different. Drifting out of the train among a wave of bodies, I looked at the scenery before me, almost identical to 3 years ago. It is a station. The familiar sight brought me a small sense of relief. I took out my phone and sent my mom a message telling her I'd arrived. She replied a few moments later, telling me to wait at the roundabout in front of the station. I did as she said, moving over towards the roundabout. We arrived seemingly at the same time, and as she pulled up, I saw her smiling and waving through the windshield. Welcome home. How have things been? Thanks. I've been really busy recently, but I haven't gotten sick or anything, so I've been good. You can tell she's not that important of a character because she hasn't been illustrated. Nozomu, you're speaking all proper like now. Living in Tokyo for 3 years will do that. Dialects really stick out over there, it's embarrassing. I got in the car and she spoke to me in a light and cheerful voice that I couldn't imagine hearing back when I lived here. Hearing that familiar drawl was comforting. A cheerful voice that I couldn't imagine hearing back when I lived here? So she doesn't normally speak like this? Though having lost it myself, I felt somewhat out of place. Guess that's just how it is. At least, that's how it is for me. Things are changing. Speaking of, that department store in front of the station is closing soon, I hear. For real? I continued listening as Mom detailed how the department store, the biggest one in the prefecture at 6 floors, was slated to be closed down. Apparently the pandemic and the economic decline of the town both contributed to the store being shut down. Even though I didn't have many chances to go there growing up, the place was such a symbol of the station that losing it filled me with a sort of lonely feeling. According to my mom, the next business that will open up in its place still hasn't been decided. That news, paired with the fact that the population of my hometown was decreasing every year, felt like a premonition of the future that awaited this place. The desolate train station in the mountains flashed across my mind. I guess this town that I thought would always be the same had actually been changing bit by bit in my absence. It wasn't all bad, though. Various ordinary chain stores that were everywhere in the city had started business here. With many uh-huhs and reallys, I continued to listen to my mom cheerfully chatter away. I felt relieved and sentimental seeing all the supermarkets and restaurants I went to all the time as a student still lined up along the road. Well, are you and Haru-chan still keeping in touch? The moment my mom said that, my burgeoning relief was completely shattered. My whole body tensed up, ears pointing rigidly skyward. My mom calls Haruka Haru-chan. We would always go back and forth to each other's houses growing up. So much so that our mothers had nicknames for both of us. It was embarrassing to hear now. Looks like that was another aspect of town that hadn't changed. Even though I didn't want to change the topic. Even though I didn't want to touch on that topic, I didn't have the courage to respond to her question with silence. Not so much these days. When I saw him a while back, he was worried about you, you know? You go and say hi to him, you hear? I tried to find the words to say that wouldn't reveal exactly how long it had been since we lost contact. It was probably strange from my mother's point of view to hear that us two boys, who were so close that one brought an admission train ticket just to see the other one off, weren't even keeping in contact anymore. Alright. Mom didn't have the slightest idea why I left for Tokyo. It'd be really troublesome if she found out, so I agreed without protest. I guess it worked, because she changed the conversation to that of my life in Tokyo recently. She doesn't know why you went to Tokyo? I'm wondering if I'm misinterpreting something. Did he literally go to Tokyo to get distance from Haruka, specifically? I wonder. I answered all my mom's questions with nice-sounding replies, so that the topic of Haruka wouldn't be brought back up. I wonder if that's a gender-neutral name, because I'm just thinking about how, like, both Haru and Haruka are both names I associate with Japanese, female characters in other Japanese media. Haru from Beastars and Haruka from Yakuza. And specifically, I've definitely heard Haru multiple times tied to masculine characters in the past too. So I'm like, are both of these names gender neutral or something? I know that in the notes on Beastars in one of the volumes, I think that Paru Itagaki said that she wanted Haru to have like a sort of like a strong sounding name. I forget the exact way that she phrased it. Let's see. I answered all my mom's questions with nice sounding replies so the topic of Haruka wouldn't be brought back up. The city faded into the distance behind us, the barren road surrounded by rice fields. I simply watched from the window as the car carried us up in the mountains on the path leading home. We soon arrived at my house, located in a newer residential area in the mountains. My dad, who was quiet, in contrast to my talkative mother, greeted us with a shy look and a wagging tail. My dad as well as my mom, though I hadn't noticed while in the car, both looked smaller than I remembered. That's just a wild way to structure that sentence. That's definitely a cleaner way that doesn't make you feel confused while you're starting the sentence and then waiting for the ending of the sentence to finally clarify what you're talking about. Now more than ever, the fact that 3 years had passed weighed heavily on me. Alternate sprite! Can you even go backwards in this, actually? This actually might be the same engine or whatever as the last the visual novel I played a couple weeks ago. I don't know if there's an apparent way to go backwards. No idea. I hung up my coat and headed to the kitchen to wash my hands. As I did, my eyes were drawn to a pot on the stove, stomach rumbling as I peeked at the boiling fish through the glass lid. Thinking about it, the only thing I ate today was a snack I bought at the convenience store when I changed trains. When I told that to Mom, she bolted in the kitchen to finish preparing dinner. I took a quick bath and joined my dad at the dinner table, sitting across from him. Despite being face to face, we didn't say a word to each other. Instead, we listened to Mom recount every detail of our conversation in the car to Dad, his eyes downturned. Dad and I never really talked much. Mom always had enough to say for the three of us, smoothly steering the conversation most of the time. This pattern continued even now, making me feel happy yet slightly pathetic. Eventually, an array of all my favorite foods was served up in front of me. No self-cooked meal or restaurant food compared to Mother's cooking. The flavorful, familiar taste just couldn't be beat, and I scarfed down the delicious meal. We have no idea what the meal was. We know it contained boiled fish at one point. We talked for a while longer, with Mom at the center of attention, before I got up and ambled over to my backpack. I reached in and pulled out 2 gifts I had tucked away earlier. The first, a 4-pack of assorted sake in a nice display box, which I handed to Dad. The second, a selection of various sweets in a gorgeous decorative box sold at Tokyo Station, which I gave to Mom. Thanks. Thank you. Hey, you're going to Haru-chan's place, right? You got gifts for them too, didn't you? Dad replied with an awkward one-word thanks, as my ever-altruistic mother immediately questioned me. You don't really have to say that because it already happened. I guess she's already made up her mind that I'm going to visit Haruka. Feeling a sharp pain in my chest that I knew very well, I tripped over my words. I didn't really buy anything. Well, that ain't right. I don't need nothing, so you go and bring this over there. Saying that, she handed the box of confections back to me, my sweet-toothed father looking suddenly crestfallen. Apologizing to Dad in my mind, I weakly attempted to protest Mom's rapid-fire words. But... You heard me. When are you going? Clearing up the dour expression on my dad's face was like trying to put out a fire with a spray bottle. Mom continued to push me closer and closer toward Haruka. I gave in and started thinking about how to minimize the damage. Today was December 28th. The couple days before and after New Year's would be too much of an imposition. Plus, I was headed back to Tokyo in 3 nights, which meant that the only day we could realistically meet up was tomorrow. It felt like the protective moat I had dug around myself would be completely filled in a matter of hours. This realization made me want to just bury my head in my hands. I'll go tomorrow. I already threw out your bike. How's about I drop you off there? You threw out the bike? Is it just... What, was it not useful to have a bike around in Japan? No, it's okay. I'm not a kid anymore. I can walk there. Haruka's house is about 2 kilometers away. A bit of a long walk. But if I didn't go at my own pace, I'd be standing at his front door before I could mentally prepare myself. So there's no guarantee that I'd be ready, even if I walked. Okay, say hi to Haruka's mom too, won't ya? The conversation ended there, and I skulked up the stairs to my old room, head hanging low. You're really getting it for just refusing to elaborate on the situation in any kind of way. Looking around the room, I noticed a long couch, a wall-mounted television, and an old shelf lined up top to bottom with various books and documents. There was a time-worn desk set up in the room as well. It seemed that Dad had been using the space as a study ever since I left for Tokyo. Laying in the corner, starkly opposed to everything else in the room, was a futon and mattress set. Even bundled in a thick futon, amid the calming smell of laundry detergent, I couldn't fall asleep. The thought of going to Haruka's house tomorrow churned endlessly in my mind. The feelings I had sealed away for years were bubbling back up, and I was terrified that they might finally resurface. At the same time, I was equally terrified to see with my own eyes how much Haruka had changed in the last 3 years. Just sleep. Just sleep. I chanted these words in my head like a mantra, but my prayers fell on deaf ears, so I'm guessing we never ended up coming back for New Year's like we said we would. There's a bit of like a Chase and Leo vibe going on, where our character claims that we explicitly decided to stop talking to each other, and it was almost like it was a mutual thing that everyone thought was for the best. But then the one vision we get of this other character is them crying as we leave and begging us to visit and stuff like that. Figuring that I wouldn't fall asleep at this rate, I got up and shambled to the window to cool my head. I pulled the curtains aside and slid the window open to the stinging bite of frosty air. I gazed out, watching the fluffy snowflakes drift down from the inky sky. As each one floated to the ground and melted, I felt the sorrow in my heart pile up in equal measure. I leaned my upper body outside the window, casting my gaze higher until the night sky filled my entire view. I felt like I was hanging from a cloud, watching countless crystalline snowflakes shine like stars, illuminating the ebony ether high above. Before I knew it, it wasn't just my head but my whole body that had cooled down, and I let out a shivering breath. When I looked at the clock on the wall, I saw that 30 minutes had already passed. I laughed at myself for letting the time slip away from me like always. I closed the window and slipped back into the pillowy futon, soothed by the traces of heat that still lingered from earlier. The warmth and comfort blanketed my thoughts in a haze, and with the ease of dipping my hand into a pool of water, I drifted off, submerged in a peaceful sleep. See? This is why you don't take naps on the train. This is why you never take naps. Naps ruin your brain and body and rhythm. I say this as somebody who just like is incapable of sleeping on purpose, basically. Especially not in the middle of the day. And if I do somehow fall asleep, oh my god, it always ruins me. It always wrecks me so hard. I've never been able to nap. It was always hard to get up on winter mornings. Even more so now that I was at my parents' house. God, that's so relatable right now. Going through December and January, and it just being genuinely cold, it's so hard to get yourself just to actually get out of bed. You're like, no, I'm in my cocoon. Life can wait forever. I don't need to live. I could just stay here. I woke up at the same time I did for work, drifted in and out of sleep several times before finally getting out of bed after 11 a.m. Light filtered in through the small gaps in the curtains, the dull glow suggesting the absence of direct sunlight. Squinting my eyes, I opened the curtains, and sure enough, the sky was overcast with ashy clouds. The road was dark and damp, and it seemed like snow was still falling here and there. You trying to hibernate for winter or something? Yeah, sorry. Mom chided me as I descended the staircase and entered the living room. The kindness she had shown in the car last night was nowhere to be seen, having been replaced by the same harshness she displayed when I was a kid. It's been snowing. Sure you're okay walking there? Yeah, I'm sure. It'll be a good workout. That'll be good for you. How about some food? Sure, I guess I'll eat then head out. It'll be ready in a jiffy. Just wait a bit. Okay, thanks. By the way, where's Dad? We ran out of detergent, so he went to go buy some. He was all mopey after yesterday, so he's probably getting a cake or something too. Ah, gotcha. Apologizing inwardly to Dad, I swore to myself that I'd bring extra gifts next time I came home. Maybe because it was the same breakfast Dad ate, but the simple meal was swiftly set. Maybe it was the same breakfast Dad ate. The simple meal was swiftly set down in front of me. So it's just left like more of the same stuff that's prepared, I guess, is what they're saying. After eating and getting ready, I headed outside to find the same fluffy snowflakes as last night. It started falling again. I love the snow when it piles up, but I don't care much for it in this region, as it's often thick. It leaves behind a lot of water when it melts. Even though I was usually good at controlling my emotions, I still felt sort of melancholy. Tucking the paper bag under my arm to keep the gifts from getting wet, I opened my big umbrella and stepped out into the road. I could hear the soft patter of snow piling up on the top of the canopy as I began to walk. Being such a rural residential area, there was nobody walking around outside, and I could count the number of passing cars on one hand. This road was the definition of the word tranquil, the stillness making me feel like the last being on Earth. Up until yesterday morning, I had been amid the commotion of the city. Perhaps that difference was the reason I felt that way. As I shook my umbrella to clear off the piling snow, I arrived at the children's park where Haruka and I always played as kids. A section of the forest had been cleared to make space for the park, and the slides and swing sets looked repainted, making them even prettier than I remembered. In contrast, an array of rusted-over iron bars and playground paraphernalia were strewn about. Since the spot was just about a halfway point to Haruka's house, I decided to take a break. There was a gazebo built here, standing vigilant over the park equipment. I went to sit on the bench inside, but stopped when I saw the seats were drenched from melting snow. I decided against stopping here, leaving the park behind without the chance to properly reminisce. It was snowing much harder than when I left my parents' house, the falling flakes dyeing the grass a powdery white. The closer I got to Haruka's house, the more I wondered if I really should be going after all. Those feelings for him are long gone. You're just seeing an old friend for the first time in a while. They're obviously not long gone. Also, I really had to kind of laugh at the moment where he said, I'm normally really good at controlling my emotions. I'm like, that's not the impression I'm getting from this game at all. You can't stop thinking about this one guy all the time, and your emotions are kind of wandering all over the place anyway. I kept making unconvincing excuses to myself as I trudged forward, feeling like my legs were going to give way beneath me. I had walked this path so many times before that I plodded along with my head down, as if tracing invisible footprints. I simply continued forward, umbrella aloft and thoughts ungathered. Then, as expected, I wasn't yet mentally or emotionally prepared as I arrived in front of Haruka's house. I took a moment to look over this place I could call my second home. Everything from the shrub-lined garden path to the frosted glass front door looked exactly as I remembered it. I couldn't spot a single difference from the old days. Even the bicycle Haruka rode all the time in high school looked as it always had, resting under the carport near his mom's silver minivan. His mom, who didn't throw his bike away from him being on it. I guess he wasn't away in the first place because he seemingly was here the whole time, even though he's supposed to be in college. It's curious that I wonder how big their college is. You think they'd have to like go away for college if they're in such a small town that a supermarket existing is a big deal, and also it's closing and failing? It suddenly struck me that his bike being there meant Haruka was home, and my heart started to hammer in my chest. The world was as quiet as ever. The rhythmic thumping of my heart filled my ears, deafening in the silence. I tried to take deep breaths, but it wasn't enough to alleviate the mayhem in my chest. Despite this, I knew it was way too shady to just stand in front of someone else's house. I hesitated countless times, and then Ooh, a verb. It's not really a choice, because there's no other options, but it's like being taken as an action. Stealing my resolve, and with a feeling like knocking on the door during a business meeting, I rang the doorbell. Coming, came a voice from the other side of the door. It was, without a doubt, Haruka's voice. Following the patter of approaching footsteps, a blurry figure appeared through the frosted glass. It felt like everything was moving in slow motion, and his outline reached for the door handle on the other side. Giant, chubby, white dog. Oh. Nozomu? And then, alabaster as the falling snow, standing tall with a large build to match, he pulled the door fully open. Though heftier than I remembered, the very same Haruka from my memory stood before me. Perhaps in disbelief that I was standing here in front of him, Haruka just blinked a few times and continued to wordlessly stare down at me with wide eyes. Stare down at you? Is there a step? Or is he that much taller than you? I feel like the sprite should probably be a little more different in height than... He took a deep breath, seeming to absorb the reality of the moment, his big tail wagging furiously as he cracked a toothy smile. I was going to say, like, normally people would, like, mention that they're coming over via some other form of communication instead of just showing up and finding out the hard way no one's there and so on. Nice to see you. How did I used to interact with him again? We were together for so long, yet there was this rift between us now. All I could think about was how to patch myself up. Suddenly my vision went white. Unaware of my thoughts, Haruka leapt at me, wrapping me up in a shoulder-crushing hug. The tip of my nose was pressed into his chest, and a sweet smell filled my nostrils. Aww. Wild angle to show it at, but... I don't... Was their separation just completely fabricated by Nozomu? Fuck, I forgot the name again. Because I almost never say it so far. Because I'm not getting any indication that Haruka even is aware that it was deliberate. It's good to see you again. I've been so worried about you. Haruka hadn't forgotten about me. Please enjoy the rest in the full version. Options such as can't ring the doorbell are available in the full version. Oh! I imagine he's discovered or something, because it'd be weird if it just stopped there. Okay, so the teaser just leads up to Haruka after constantly teasing, but there's just like no... You don't get anything. Wow. That's rough for a demo. A bed scene example. Do you just skip to a sex scene in this? Haruka, can I touch it? Of course. Haruka laid back and I moved between his legs, his bulge looking even bigger from the front. Whoa! It's a bit of a skip ahead for the story. Just so you know, demo people, there's definitely porn. I mean, it's like the implication of the entire story, but something feels oddly crass about skipping all of the context and just being like, by the way, obviously, they fuck. With clumsy, unfamiliar hands, I slipped my fingers beneath his waistband, pulling down his pajamas and underwear. So 18 plus, by the way, if you've watched this far, this is now for adults. Oh my god. The screen is mostly penis. Wow, one click later. His length caught on the fabric halfway down, but I managed to work it free with a final pull. I was greeted by the sight of something matching the size of his big body. It stood rigid, easily bigger than mine. His bright red length was already rigid. I think you just said rigid. The fluffy sheath pulled taut, straining against his knot. His cock looked huge, matching the size of his body. You just said that too. The bulging erection irresistible as it throbbed before me. Okay, I thought that the writing and or translation was a little shaky before, but now the 2 seconds of the sex scene, it's immediately like, okay, we're just saying the same things over and over again. Which is not a great sign. Alright, so I think I'm going to... Yeah, this is just porn. So I'm going to go ahead and get back out of here. Oop, the game reset. I didn't read the message, so it just started. Anyway, that has been Kikyō Homecoming. If you want to try out the full version, there's a link to the store page in the description. But otherwise, that's as far as we can go today. Thanks for watching like always, guys, and I will see you next time.